Good morning. I'd like to welcome you all here today to the front steps of City Hall. It's my pleasure to introduce to you today a new program that the City of Port Jervis will be starting with its police department, and that's our bicycle patrol. And on my right are our 4 officers that'll be participating in the program. And I would like to add, I'm going to let the Chief Wagner explain the program and answer any questions. But all of this was made possible by donations from the various organizations that we'll list for you in the community. This is a program that we could not do without the help of these organizations. And we're excited that it's going to improve the police presence in the community and provide a new service in the area of public safety. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Bill Wagner. Chief?
I want to thank everyone for coming today. Briefly, what I'd like to do is introduce to the public and the media to our new bicycle patrol program, which I introduced to our police department recently. In fact, just this morning we put these patrols in effect. Briefly, what this bicycle patrol concept is going to do is substantially increase the visibility and mobility of our police officers, which consequently will definitely increase the perception of security within our residents. And I feel this is the bottom line to this whole concept. This concept is very popular within 400 police departments throughout our country. And after much planning and thinking, I thought that this bicycle patrol concept would greatly benefit not only police department but our community as well. These patrols will be in effect throughout the city, throughout the wards, and instead of just having a foot patrolman just around the business district, I thought that with this bicycle patrol, these officers can thereby go into our wards faster and more often. At the same time, they will be responsible for the other police duties, such as answering calls. I particularly think this will be advantageous to the youngsters as well. I think this bicycle concept will be a role model for the young people, especially who ride bicycles. I think these police officers will be setting a good example for our youngsters. They can talk to them about bicycle safety. At the same time, they can create this perception of security within our residents and with our community. But like with any new program, funding is a major hurdle. And I wrote letters and I went to different organizations to see if they would donate some money for this project of mine. And behind me, I have all these people that have donated and made this program possible. And what I'd like to do, just briefly, is just introduce all of them. First of all, I'd like to introduce the Undersheriff Frank Bigger from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and Rick Shevlin. This organization was very kind. They had donated $550 towards this program. Second of all was the Elks, donated $450. Of course, Guy Spradling, representing the Elks, who's the exalted ruler, also donated a $100 personal check for this program. Guy, I want to thank you for that also. Also here representing the VFW, which donated $300, is Commander Howard Kingdon. Howard, thank you. Also the naval ship donated $300. Dick Jewell, the captain, he couldn't be here with us, but in his place is William Gore and George Fuller. In addition to that, our PBA donated $300 for this project. We purchased the bicycles at the Matterport Bicycle Shop on Pike Street. Norman Chaplin is the proprietor up there, and he also donated 2 helmets, 2 backpacks, and 2 alloy racks for these bicycles. As you know, I can't really describe them that much. From what I can see in the pamphlet here, they are a Trek Model 750. And they are a regular police bike, and they're used often with a lot of other police departments. And so far we have had no complaints from the officers. Monday, we're going to be sending 2 officers to a bicycle school in Ithaca, New York, just to cover some basic bicycle riding techniques, such as basic skills such as braking, shifting, spinning, tips on night riding, anything that's going to assist these officers in their patrols. So far, we showed a great interest in this. The officers enjoy it, and I think that our community is definitely going to benefit from this. Also on hand here is Public Safety Chairman Bob Doss, who is wholeheartedly has backed this program along with the mayor. And I'd like to introduce the 4 officers who are involved in this also. This is Officer Stanley Busick, Officer William Warden, Officer Christopher Jones, and Officer Michael Myers. And these fellas are enthusiastic, and I know they're going to do a tremendous job at this. And I'm looking forward for this program to be a total success. I know it will be. Like I said, I planned a lot for this, and I think the community is definitely going to benefit from it. I know these fellows took off this morning, and we had hundreds of looks so far, and from the feedback that I received from the community, I think this is everyone supports me through this. Also, I can't neglect my lieutenant here. He has been a big help to me also. And just like I said, there's a lot of planning behind this. The clothes that they're wearing, the equipment, it takes a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of perseverance to get a program started like this. It's just more than just buying the bicycle and just putting them on the road. These fellows have to be versed, through the bicycle laws. We have bicycle laws. And again, they're going to be answering calls just like regular police officers. They're going to be equipped just like regular police officers. They will still have their firearm, their portable radio. And as you notice, we have, from the equipment they have reflective police markings on the back of their shirt and their name tags. And I think they look very sharp. But again, I just like to reiterate, I appreciate everyone showing up today and donating the monies for me, because without this, this program couldn't have taken off. And everyone that I have asked and I've written to has told me what good a good idea this was, and they support me wholeheartedly. And again, without you fellas, this program couldn't have existed. So I just like to again thank them. Any questions?
Are there any limitations on what kind of weather they go out in? Is it rain, can they stay on the mud?
Well, most likely I will, Paul. Like I said, I want to keep this patrol going until at least it starts snowing. We're going to get windbreakers for these fellows when it gets a little bit chilly, but I foresee this going at least until November, mid-November. And I said I don't see any advantage to having these going in the snow. Someone's going to fall, and but I think 7-8 months of the year would be sufficient for this type of program.
They're going to concentrate on any particular parts of the city. You mentioned all wards. Are they going to just make regular rounds, try to hit every street periodically?
Sure, though, we'll have them go up in the wards, try, and like I said, they will be able to hit just about every street on these bicycles. It's going to be a lot faster. Like I said, they're going to be a lot more involved with these bicycles. Before I used to put once in a while a walking patrol up in the wards. Now they'll be able to cover 3-4 times as much area as they would had they been on a foot patrol. At the same time, should the desk sergeant need them for something, another call, they could go from one end of the city to the other in 6-7 minutes. So it's not that it's going to be a good program.
I forgot one final thank you, and that's the chief, for having the vision and the fortitude to make this happen. It's especially when you don't have any money and you have to reach out and work with the various organizations, which we've always had excellent cooperation with, and you deserve a lot of congratulations on this project.
Thank you.
Take a look at the bikes and. Very nice.
There is a fifth dimension known to man. It is a dimension of sound, of sight, of mind. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition. This is the Twilight Zone.
Where's that homework you owe me? There it is. Ah! Willie, I've fallen. I can't get up. I'm down at sector 5B.
I just can't do it, Nipper. I don't have the power.
Port Jervis Middle School, an ordinary school in an ordinary town. It was once neat and tidy, but then it crossed over into a region where the unexplainable occurs. It crossed over into Twilight Zone. Enter one rebel, an ordinary-looking person, but only on the outside. He holds the key that will unlock the door of this vast region of chaos.
Hey, I'm new here. I want to register.
What is that?
It's a 3-ring binder.
Bippo, Willie, we've got a major mishap in Sector 4C. It's a UOO, an unidentified organized object. I have just been on and on. I want you to pay me for this. Hold on, here it comes.
What is it?
When I was young, I had a dream that every person, in every school, in
Get the
every
point
city,
already.
I had another dream that all people would be organized, not drop anything, and most of all, wouldn't lose their lunch money.
I'm here again.
Then, one glorious spring day, I woke up to see a brilliant light pouring into my room. I walked outside in a trance. As I looked up, the heavens parted. A single slit of light shot down on the ground. The most beautiful thing, the most organized thing, the most brilliantly designed tool of organization. That's when I saw Excalibur, the 3-ring binder.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Hi, I'm Connie Chung. We're here live at PJMS waiting for Princess Sarah to make her announcement. All this commotion is caused by this strange object known as a 3-ring binder. Let's take a look. Sturdy cover. Sturdy rings. Opens easily. And by golly, look at all this neat stuff in here. It doesn't fall out. It looks like she's going to start now.
Did you see that rebel? He's so cute. Oh my God, I'm live. Here for the special occasion is Princess Sarah. First, a few words from our savior, the rebel.
When I was young, I had a dream that every person, in every school, in every city, in every country,
You get the point
in
already. I now declare this day Binder Day.
Bonus Sarah, my son. The mission is accomplished.
figure the school is not unique.
No, it is not. There are millions of Port Jervis middle schools out there. It is our job to find them. And now you are part of my family. One day I shall call upon you for a favor, and if you refuse, well, you refuse.
Hello, Rebel speaking.
Bonifera, my son. I once again am in need of your services. Goodbye.
Another school, another place, another time.
Here we go again.
One rebel against the whole world, trying to keep it organized. Impossible, you say. You're right, but not in the Twilight Zone.
The skate you have just seen demonstrates a study skill that has been incorporated into the Port Jervis Middle School curriculum. The Port Jervis Middle School has adopted the Patricia Olson Interdisciplinary Study Skills Program. Patricia Olson is a nationally known educational consultant and author of Study Skills, The Parent Connection. Patricia Olson has given us permission to share this segment with you.
Welcome to Study Skills, The Parent Connection, a video resource filled with practical, easy-to-implement ideas for improving your child's school achievement. Your presenter is Patricia Olson, an experienced classroom teacher, parent, and nationally known educational consultant who's authored a widely acclaimed study skills program. In this video, Pat addresses the real issues that are affecting our children's study skills.
I'm worried about the homework. I fear I'm not going to get it done. I usually always put it off.
It's all right if I don't have a lot, but if I have a lot and then usually I have basketball practice or something, I don't want to do it, so I just do it the next morning.
Most of the time, my teacher nags me about getting my homework done.
I think school is really good, but sometimes it gets sort of hard, homework and stuff.
The tests in junior high, I think, are a little tougher than they were in elementary school because as you get older, it keeps getting harder and harder. You have to remember more.
I don't take this very well at all because it's so hard. I can't remember everything in that short period of time.
In the 4 segments that make up this videotape, Pat provides strategies to deal with these issues. Segment 1, Parents as Teachers, instructs viewers on how to set their children up for scholastic success through the proper use of television, the study environment, homework, and organizational skills. Segment 2, Parents Ask Questions, answers real issues raised by parents. Segment 3, Parents Learn Study Skills, takes the viewer back to school to discover some valuable learning methods. And Segment 4, Making the Parent Connection, shows an actual example of how parents can work with children on their study skills using the materials included in the video packet. Each section is designed to give you strategies that you and your child can easily apply. A notepad is included for you to write down the subjects and ideas that apply to your child. Now, here's Pat with Segment 1.
Moms and dads, you are your child's greatest and most influential teacher. It is critical that you become involved in what's happening at school. Indeed, you even need to reinforce what is happening at school and to let your children know that you value education. We as a nation need to let children know we value education, and we have to get much more serious about education. I'm sure that you are as sick of reading as I in articles and in newspapers that kids in other developed nations are doing better than American kids, that somehow we're not measuring up with the Germans and the Japanese. It was interesting, an article in U.S. News and World Report several years ago posed the question, are kids in other countries doing better? Yes, indeed, they are. And there's one big reason. And that big reason is they work harder. I think you would agree that the LAZY syndrome is alive and well in American schools. I was working with kids in an auditorium, about 240 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I asked the question, how many of you suffer from the LAZY syndrome? And I have to tell you, every student in the auditorium raised their hand. Even our children know that they could work harder. And in their heart of hearts, I think they would like to work harder. It is critical, as I said earlier, that the nation become more serious. This is the information age. The folks who study the future predict that 18-year-olds in this country right now can expect to make 7 or 8, think about that, 7 or 8 major occupational changes before they reach the age of retirement. Why? Because this job will be obsolete and they have to train for a new one. What does this mean? What this means is that we must have young people who make a commitment to being lifelong learners, young people who realize they can never stop learning. We have to get kids fired up about school, excited about school, and enthused about learning. And that's what this tape is all about. It contains practical, easy-to-implement ideas that you can use at home to work with your children. The first practical, easy-to-implement idea regards this box right here, the television. I think you would agree that children in this country are watching too much television. For that matter, perhaps even adults in this country are watching too much television. The research tells us that the television is on in American homes an average of about 7 hours a day. If we question people about that, they'll say, oh, I just turn it on for background music or background noise. But we know, in fact, we're watching much more television than we should, as are your children. According to Marie Wynn, who wrote The Plug-in Drug, preschool children in this country watch as much as 54 hours a week of television. I mean, think about that. How can preschool children get their maturation work done, digging around in the pots and pans and things that children should be doing? We need to also take a look at what our school-age children are watching. Again, the research tells us that kids at the middle school, that is ages 10 to 15, upper elementary, junior high, middle, are watching as much as 4 or 5 hours of television per day. How can we take a look at what our children are watching as much as how much they're watching, or how much is too much? According to Becoming a Nation of Readers, and you can see this is well worn, it's been read a few times, but according to Becoming a Nation of Readers, up to 10 hours a week of television seems to have a positive effect on school achievement. More than 10 hours a week of television has a negative effect on school achievement. That is a very important statistic and one that you need to take to heart. The negative effect is in direct proportion to the number of hours beyond 10 that students use a tube. So that if a child watches 20 hours, it's much worse than if a child watches 11. How can we get a handle on this? How can we monitor this with our children? Here's an easy way to do it. You know, when your Sunday paper comes, doesn't matter where you live, when your Sunday paper comes, it comes with a TV guide for the week. Some of you actually subscribe to TV Guide in your home. So when you have that TV Guide for the week, if your children can't read yet, they're preschool children, sit down with them and take a highlighter. Highlighter is a good way to mark it. Take a highlighter and take every day of the week and have you and your child together highlight the 10 hours that you're going to watch. Send that to your daycare provider. So your daycare provider understands that your child is not allowed to willy-nilly watch television. If it isn't convenient during that time for your child to watch, then that's fine too. But you're not allowed to just sit there and vegetate passively in front of the television. How about school-age children? They can read. Here's a suggestion. Give them the highlighter, give them the TV guide, and say, okay, highlight the 10 hours you're going to watch. And when you finish, bring it to me. And moms and dads, when they bring it to you, take a look at it. Because guess what? We can say no to our children. Yes, indeed, we can. So that if your child in the 5th grade or the 6th grade has highlighted LA law, you can veto that. That's not appropriate viewing for a kid in the 6th grade. And you can say, choose something else and try to limit to 10 hours. I have to tell you, I had a mother who called me. She actually did this with her 10-year-old son. And the 3rd week that they had implemented this plan, the mother called me and she said, here's a funny story. She said, my son came to me yesterday with the TV guide, with the highlighter, and he handed it to me rather sheepishly, and he said, Mom, I couldn't find 10 hours. And I think that's pretty typical. If we really think ahead, we may find that there really isn't that much that we want to watch. And one other important point here You need to know, moms and dads, that the biggest viewers of MTV, and if you haven't ever looked at MTV, you need to, the biggest viewers of MTV are 10 to 13-year-olds. So it becomes a question of not only knowing what our students are watching, but also knowing how much they're watching and trying to limit them in a practical way to no more than 10 hours per week. The second study that I want to tell you about was done at the Packard School in Brooklyn by a counselor. What he decided to do was to study merit scholars. He wanted to find out what are the commonalities among these high-achieving young people. It must have been, I'm supposing anyway, it was somewhat of a frustrating study because there were no commonalities. The closest thing that he could find to a commonality, are you ready for this, moms and dads? Most of these kids ate dinner most evenings with their parents. Think about that. You know, all across the U.S. of A., it is difficult to get the family together at mealtime because kids have this activity or this sports team that they have to go to practice, and it is tough for us to get together as a family. But what also happens all across the U.S. of A. is that when we have the luxury of getting together as a family, we don't have our dinner together. We're all sitting around the table, and we're having our dinner with Tom Brokaw or Peter Jennings or Vanna moving the letters on Wheel of Fortune. Because we're not eating together and communicating, we're watching television. Make it a rule in your household, no TV during meals. Because this might be the only time all day long, whether it's breakfast or dinner, that you're together as a family. And when you sit down to that table, if the rule is no TV, you're much more apt to be talking to one another. Now, let me say, too, when you make a rule like this, your children aren't going to say, oh, good, I get to talk to my mom or my dad or whomever. They're going to probably try to make your life miserable so that you turn it back on. As a matter of fact, I had a parent who called me and said, after 3 days, I put it back on because my son was just sullen and icky. Of course they're going to be icky. You know, you're going to say, how was school today? Boring. What'd you do in school today? Nothing. And, you know, it doesn't matter, moms and dads. You just keep up your happy talk. And then today I saw this person and I did this and this is what happened today. And you can continue to ask what happened in your day, but don't turn the television back on. Eventually, your child or children will join in. And if they never do, guess what? They will remember when they're grown up, oh, yeah, we always had family meals together. I was an ick, but the rest of the family talked to each other. Leave the television off during meals and make that a time when the family communicates. I have to tell you, related to that, a little bit of a sad story. I was working with 2 fifth-grade classes, about 50 children in a Midwestern state. And I said we were doing some time management stuff and laughing and carrying on and discussing organizational skills and procrastination and things like that. And I said to the children, how many of you have your supper most every day with the television on? I was surprised. All but about 5 kids raised their hand. I said, okay, would you do something for me? I want you to go home and I want you to say to whomever you're living with, oh, could we maybe turn off the television tonight so I can tell you about this woman who came to school? And, you know, when you've been around working with children as long as I, you can begin to see kind of what they're thinking. And I could tell some of the kids were thinking, oh, that's a good idea. I'd like to talk to my parents. Another little group of kids were looking at me as if to say, who is this wacko? But a little boy in the back of the room raised his hand. You know, 5th graders, about 10 years old. He raised his hand, and I said, yes, dear, what is your question? He said, Mrs. Olson, if you have to have your supper all by yourself, do you have to turn off the television? I said, well, if you have to have your supper by yourself, you can leave the television on. Think about that, moms and dads. Here's a child 10 years old eating by himself. Now, don't think for a minute that I'm a judgmental person. I am not. I know it is tough. It is tough to make a living. It is tough to pay the taxes, and many, many parents are having to work the swing shift. They're working as hard as they can work to provide for their families, and we do have to sometimes leave our children. But if we're in that situation, we have to get creative. You know, you might want to say to a neighbor, hey, could you invite Charlie over for dinner one night this week so he doesn't have to have his dinner by himself? Or you might say to a cousin across town, could you come pick up Cindy and take her to Mac and Don's for dinner so she doesn't have to have her supper by herself? Get creative. And moms and dads, if you have someone in your neighborhood whose parents are working and doing the best they can, and you know there's a child over there eating by himself, why not invite him over? Say, come on, join our family tonight. It wouldn't be too much to ask, and it wouldn't be any big deal. You don't have to adopt the kid. Just invite him over once in a while to join your family. Because it is too lonely for a 10-year-old to have supper by himself 5 nights a week. And we have to be advocates for children. We have to show each other that we value children. We have to look out for not only our own children, but other people's children, too. So make it a rule in your family. Turn the television off during meals. And if you know of someone who's by himself, invite him over for meals once in a while and join in the communication. Another point that I think is very important for us is to think about, do our kids have TVs in their rooms? Because child psychologists say it's not a very good idea. Very often kids who are restless and anxious and sleepless and are having bad dreams and nightmares are having them because they're going to bed with the television. I mean, you know, some programs on television can be pretty scary. And the other thing that happens for children who have televisions in their rooms, we're going in to say goodnight. And your child says, don't bother me, I'm watching this, so out you go. The next night you're going in again to say goodnight to your child. And your child or your children say, don't bother me, don't bother us, we're watching this show. And after 3 or 4 nights of this, what happens? We say to ourselves, well, he or she is watching television, so I won't bother him or her. And we have destroyed one more family ritual, the ritual of going in before your children fall asleep at night and saying goodnight, reading a story, whatever, because the television will destroy that family ritual. So make it a rule in your household. No television during meals and no TV in children's rooms. And I'm sure the children whose parents are watching this, if they do have TVs in their room, they're a little mad at me. But in the final analysis, they're going to be happier. And so I promise you that if you try these 2 simple things, that you will find communication in your family is considerably enhanced. If you're interested in doing something about television in your house, how much kids are watching and what they're watching, let me recommend to you a valuable resource. Marie Wynn has written a book called Unplugging the Plug-in Drug. And what she has in here is a whole array of ideas that you can use to plan a no-TV week for your family. One of the things she says is, if you're going to have a no-TV week, you've got to come up with some activities because, in fact, television is a very passive activity, and kids don't really know how to play sometimes. They don't really know what to do if they've been watching 4 or 5 hours of television a day, and suddenly they can't watch any TV. So she has a whole bunch of ideas in here that you can use for a no-TV week. Another idea that Marie Wynn includes in her book is recommending to us that after your no-TV week, limit yourself to 1 working television per household. That, you know, we have too many TVs and then everyone is scattered all about and there's no family communication. With 1 working TV set, we watch together and we compromise on what we're going to watch, and it makes TV a much less passive activity. I'm sure many of you remember reading just a few months ago an article in the newspaper about checking the metabolic rate of people when they're watching TV. And what they found was that our metabolism is lower while watching TV than it is while we're sleeping, which certainly validates the idea that television is very passive. And we should get our children, if they're going to watch TV, to be more active. So that if we have 1 working set, we watch together. At the end of a television show, we discuss it. That in and of itself will make television a less passive activity, and also what we're trying to do is increase communication among your family. We've been really talking a lot about television here, and I bet some of you parents out there are wondering, what about Nintendo? My child plays 5 or 6 hours a day of Nintendo. Well, Marie Wynn's advice would be that that's entirely too much, because she thinks 5 or 6 hours of anything, whether it's television or Nintendo, is excessive. And we need to limit how much time kids are sitting there going like this. If you ever watch 2 kids who get together to quote-unquote play, one is doing this while the other watches the screen, then they change places. And Nintendo ends up to be a very passive activity that doesn't require very much communication. So, you know, we know, too, that kids in this country are playing too much Nintendo, because you read about 13-year-olds having carpal tunnel. So I think when it comes to Nintendo, we need to have the same kind of parameters as television. That is, limit how much of it's going on in your household and make sure that none of it's going on until that homework is done, since your child's most important job is to be a student. Speaking of homework, let's look at some ideas that will help make homework time more efficient in your household. One of the things that we need to think about is the study environment that we set up for our child. Walter Pauck addresses that in his book, How to Study in College. Walter Pauck is a professor at Cornell University, and this book is full of very practical suggestions. One of the things we need to do is insist that our children do their work in a quiet place. Turn off the stereo, turn off the radio, turn off the television, and do your work in a quiet place. If we do that, Walter Pauck says, we will get more work done in less time. So we're really looking at making our children much more efficient learners. Sometimes in working with high school kids, which I've done for years and years, they are a little bit doubtful about this because they're in some pretty bad habits. And what I say to them is, I dare you to turn off the television or the radio or the stereo for 1 week. Keep track of how much time you spent on your schoolwork and the results you got for the time you put in. And you will conclude, yes, I am much more efficient with the media turned off. Now, there's an exception to that. If your children or your child listens to classical Baroque music, you don't have to get on their case because the experts feel that somehow that does not interfere with learning. But I have a pretty strong hunch that most kids are not sitting around listening to Baroque music. Instead, they're listening to rap and things that you really do need to tune into. A second suggestion that Walter Pauck makes to students is, if possible, study in the same place every single day, because you begin to associate that place with study, and you begin to concentrate the minute you sit there. And so if you can study in the same place every day, you'll be a little more efficient. And speaking of the same place, I know that not all children have their own room, and there's nothing saying that for all kids, having your room is the best place to study anyway. But what we need to find that room, and we need to make sure that where we're going to study, whether it's the kitchen table or wherever, we have that area well supplied. We need the tools of our trade in order to accomplish our work. You would be amazed, moms and dads, if you had any idea how much time was spent in American schools trying to get kids to bring something to write with and something to write on when they come to do their work. So even setting up a homework area that is well supplied will help them to get into the habit of bringing their materials to school. For example, let's say that your child is going to study at the kitchen table. He or she can keep all of their stuff in a shoebox. It doesn't cost anything to keep a shoebox nearby. And in that shoebox, put the things that he or she needs to accomplish the schoolwork. Otherwise, they're up and down, looking for this, looking for that, and they're certainly cutting down on efficiency. What might one of these shoeboxes contain? Well, your child can probably make the list, and you need to make sure that those things are available. Probably a good up-to-date dictionary. Certainly, if they're allowed to use calculators, maybe a calculator. Pencils and pens. Make sure that there's a good supply of pencils and pens in there that the student can use, and that they're nice and sharp so they don't have to jump down and up and always getting things to get work done. You might need a ruler, maybe some 3x5 cards for flashcards. Your child or your children know what they need in order to accomplish that homework. So keep those things together so that when they sit down, whether they're doing it in a room or if they're going to another area of the house to do it, they just pick up the supplies, they sit down, and they get to it, okay? And speaking of getting to it, another important suggestion is that your children should get their homework done as early in the evening as possible. You know, I've had students who don't have homework done, and I say, hey, where's your homework? Oh, Mrs. Olson, I got too tired. I fell asleep doing it. Well, I find out when this young woman tracks how she has spent her time that every single night from 7 to 9 she talks on the phone, and then she starts her homework. Now, I'm not saying kids shouldn't talk on the phone. That's part of being 13, 14 years old. But if she would get her homework done at 7, and when she's finished her homework, talk on the phone, she's going to be much more efficient. As a matter of fact, I promised this young woman that if she would try that, she would take less total time studying and get more learning for the time that she put in. So get that work done before you talk on the phone. and you will get it done more quickly. And please, when we say get it done as early in the evening as possible, understand, moms and dads. I mean, the children can't come home from school and hit the work. They're kids, they have to relax, they have to unwind, of course they have to eat. But, you know, given a choice of starting homework at 6 or starting homework at 8 or starting homework at 7 or starting it at 9, there is no comparison. The earlier we get it done in the evening, the more efficient we are. And speaking of efficiency, here's something you might want to try, assignment notebooks. Perhaps your students' teachers are already requiring they do an assignment notebook, because I know it's become quite common at the middle level. And it should be common probably all the way through the school years. Because if you think about it, who among us does not write down our carpool appointments, our doctor appointments, maybe even a grocery list that we take to the store so that we don't forget things? That being better organized makes us much more efficient. And it's the same with your children, especially those of you who have children at the middle school. We're talking here 5, 6, 7, 8, that age range. For the first time, students have many different teachers in a day. You think about the elementary environment where kids are. Everything that the teacher says, hold on to, they throw into a desk because they live in a single desk. When the teacher says, get this out or get that out, their organizational skills aren't too critical because they can dig around in that desk and they can come up with what the teacher wants. When they go to middle school, it's a whole different situation. Suddenly they have 7 teachers. They're living in a locker this wide as opposed to that desk. And the hormones are pulsating through their bodies. And we think that somehow by some magical process over the course of the summer, these kids should be able to act like high school kids or like college kids. They cannot. We need to help them with their organizational skills. We need to help them to get organized. We talked earlier about bringing the tools of your trade. Before your students leave for school in the morning, ask them, do you have something to write with and something to write on? Because it's very difficult for children this age to be organized, and a few reminders doesn't hurt them. And if your school is requiring an assignment notebook, certainly tell your children that you think this is a great idea. Share with them what you do. Show them your calendar or whatever. And speaking of calendars, I have to tell you, we do an awful lot of assuming what we can and cannot do when it comes to children, because there are even things we want to do that we need to be trained for. Let me give you an example. I'm quite fascinated by these day timers that zip on 3 sides, and every time I go to buy my calendar for the year, I think, I want one of those. And I look at it, and then I think, I couldn't figure it out, so I don't buy one. I was in with a friend of mine in upstate New York who was using one of those, and I said, how'd you figure out how to use that thing? Because I never could figure it out. She said, everyone in central office attended a seminar. I thought, really? I was sitting on an airplane next to a gentleman, a businessman, who was also using one of these. And he's moving from area to area in category, and he's writing all this stuff and looked very efficient. And I said to him, how'd you learn to work that thing? I wanted to get one of those, but I couldn't figure it out. He said, oh, we had a seminar at our office. I said, well, I don't have time to go to a seminar. He said, not to worry. And he gave me a toll-free number, which I could call and buy some tapes, which will teach me how to use a new organizational strategy. Think about that. If we adults who have been having to write things down for years and years want to change our system, we probably need a course in order to do it. Certainly then, your children who are in school with 7 different teachers need to write down their assignments for each subject. What do they need to bring home? What do they need to bring to school? Think of all the trouble this would save you. You wouldn't have to drive back to school to pick up the books that your child has forgotten. When your child comes home, if they're required to use one of these, you don't want to say, do you have any homework? Instead, you want to say, let me see your assignment notebook. And if your child says, I don't have any homework, what you need to say to your child is, did you go to school today? Because if your child went to school today, they certainly have some homework. I mean, do you think the teachers did nothing? Of course the teachers did something. And we know that forgetting takes its greatest toll in 24 hours. Think about that. If you got some information in social studies today, or science, or mathematics, or whatever, if you go home that evening and you review that information, you're going to be much more ready to take a test than if you don't look at it again or think about it again until test time. So there really is no such thing as a day without homework, because forgetting takes its greatest toll in 24 hours. So when your children are using their assignment notebook, or maybe if the school doesn't require it, you yourself will require it, and when you see your student using it, and you don't have to nag them every day to get their work done, set up some sort of a reward system. You know, you do this 5 days in a row, you fill this out completely, and you get all of the work done that's required efficiently, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a reward. And when I say that, immediately we start to think about things. You know what, parents? Children want even more than things. They want time with their parents. So maybe you could say, all right, you do this 5 days, you do this 10 days, well, I don't have to nag you about this homework. And we will go to a movie together on Saturday, or we will do some shopping on Saturday, or we'll go out to dinner, even if it's McDonald's on Friday night. But set up a system. Then your parents know that you value their organizational skills at school, and that you also value school, and that in your household there is no such thing as a day without homework. Because whatever they did in school that day, if nothing else, they could review before they go to bed that night. So make homework a habit, make being organized a habit, and facilitate that. Show them how to do it, give them some suggestions, and when they do it, give them a reward. Assignment notebooks are a terrific idea. Remember we said there's no such thing as a day without homework because forgetting takes its greatest toll in 24 hours? That if you review within 24 hours, you remember about 80% of what you've learned, and if you don't review within 24 hours, you remember about 20% of what you've learned. So there really is no such thing as a day without homework. But let's say that your children come home and they have convinced you they have nothing to do. You see, sometimes kids think if they don't have something to write, they have no homework. That's why kids on an inventory I used to give to my students with the question, I study for tests, the most common answer was never or rarely, which really surprised me. But let's say that your children are convinced that they don't have any homework. Still, in your household, say to your children, 30 minutes a night is devoted to our job. In the real world, no one comes home from work, or if they're working in the home, at the end of the workday in the home, no one has absolutely nothing to do at the end of the workday. It's the way of the world, and your students can also get into the habit of devoting 30 minutes per day to their job. And remember, we said earlier, their job is first and foremost to be a student. Imagine if every kid in the United States of America, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 30 minutes on the weekend, spent time working on their schoolwork, if nothing else, reviewing, or if nothing else, just reading. And that's a good way to set up the 30-minute policy in your household to say, okay, if you really are convinced you have no homework, we're still going to do 30 minutes of reading. You'll have to find something to read, doesn't much matter what it is, and you will have to spend time reading for 30 minutes, something related to your academic role, the role that you play as a student. And speaking of reading, remember the old tattered book I showed you, Becoming a Nation of Readers? According to Becoming a Nation of Readers, the very best predictor of whether or not a child learns to read when they come to school is whether or not they were read to as preschool children. What does that say, moms and dads? Read to your preschool children. If even older brothers and sisters can read to their younger brothers and sisters, but young children, preschool children, need to be read to. And all kids should be reading about 30 minutes a day. Again, going back to that auditorium of students, 240 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I asked these kids, how many of you would like to do better in school? And almost all of the kids raised their hand. I said, okay, here it is. There's a 100% money-back guarantee that if you will do this, you will raise your school achievement, and that is to read 365 days a year for 30 minutes. If every student would do that, that would do a great deal to raise their school achievement and to help them to do better in school. Reading to children and encouraging your children to read is critical. If you're reading something yourself, share what you're reading with your children so they know that this is something you really value. If you see your children reading something, ask them, what are you reading? How do you like it? Tell me about it, so they know that you really are interested in reading. So try to encourage your kids to get involved in reading, get involved in doing things outside of class that are related to their job as a student. We as a nation, if this were a policy, would be much better off in terms of our being ready to compete in the information age. I promised you some practical, easy-to-implement ideas that you can use with your children at home to enhance their school achievement. Let's recap those. First of all, limit your children to no more than about 10 hours a week of television. Turn the television off during meals and talk to your children. Your kids do not need televisions in their rooms. Better to have one working television set per family and watch together and talk about what's being watched. When your children do their homework, facilitate their homework in a quiet place. Turn off the stereo, turn off the media, turn off the radio and the television, and do your work in a quiet place. And organize that work area. Make sure you have the tools of your trade, the things you need to get that homework done with maximum efficiency. Do your homework as early in the evening as possible, before you're all tired from having put in a long day. Do your phone talking after the homework is done. Use an assignment notebook. Then you won't leave the things you need to get your work done at school and have to go back up to pick them up. Use the assignment notebook so that you know exactly what you have to do and so that the parents also know what it is you have to do. And read to your children. Read to your preschool children. Encourage your older children to do some reading. There is no such thing as a day without homework because forgetting takes its greatest toll in 24 hours. So if in fact your children can convince you they have no homework, still set up the idea of 30 minutes per night devoted to their job as a student. And all together, these ideas should be used as a way for you to catch your children doing things right, to accentuate the positive. When you see your children implementing these ideas, say, wow, this is terrific. I'm really glad to see you using this assignment notebook. Or, that was terrific. I saw you last night turn off the television when you were going to start your work. Accentuate the positive. Notice the things that your children are doing right rather than what they are doing wrong. And I have to tell you, I was out east working with a group of parents, and at the end of the session, I asked for some questions, and a gentleman came down to the front of the room, a very well-dressed gentleman, obviously a very successful person. And he said to me, he said, you know, Mrs. Olson, I learned something tonight about study skills, but I learned something more important. He said, you know, I have a 16-year-old son. He is really a good kid. He said this in about 3 different ways so he could hear himself say that. And then he said, I cannot remember the last positive thing I said to that boy. I thought, wow, this is worth a trip to New York because this father was looking for perfection. You'll never find perfection. Find a perfect adult, you'll start looking for perfect children. We should make it a rule in our household that 8 out of 10 comments we say to our children are positive. And that's probably the easiest thing anyone has ever asked you to do. Because I have 2 children of my own, and I've had the privilege of working with hundreds and thousands of kids as a teacher and now as a workshop leader. And I can tell you, I have never met a child who doesn't do multitudinously more right than they do wrong. So use these ideas, and when you see your children implementing them, catch them into implementing them and say, wow, this is terrific. And make sure that in your household, 8 out of 10 comments you make to your children are positive.
Hello, I'm Mr. Witherow, principal of Port Jervis Middle School. You have just viewed a presentation designed to inform you of our study skills program at the Port Jervis Middle School. It's our hope that we can provide more programming of this nature during the upcoming months. If you are a student watching this program, it's important that you come to school each day well-rested, with your homework, with your books, your 3-ring binder, and any other materials you need for that day to be successful. If you are a parent, you can play a major role in ensuring your students' success by checking their homework assignment book nightly, being sure that all the work has been completed. You should provide your student with a place of study that is free of disruptions. You should also establish specific times for study, both weeknights and on weekends. Your student should organize everything they need to bring to school each night. There should be a specific spot where it is to be placed so that no matter how rushed they may be the next morning, they will know exactly where to get all they need for school that day. You play a vital role in your students' education. They need you to keep check on them and keep them focused. This is a middle school homework assignment journal. A new one will be issued each quarter. The color of the cover may change, but you should look for this journal to come home each night. Your students should have recorded their homework assignments in it. You can check it to be sure that they're getting their work done and keeping up with what they need to do. Remember that staff members and peer tutors are available after school Tuesday through Thursday to offer extra assistance.
Come here, she's trying to take a video.
That's fine. That's fine. It's for the kids anyway. Put on Access 8, let them see themselves, right?
Hey, Caitlin.
That's taken care of. And I got one in the paper, in the mail. Oh, so we're working together, 2, 3, and 7 together?
We're always
Good,
together.
good. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, good.
Yeah. I have one little girl I got to try to find that to tell her what we're doing if she wants to go in with us.
Sit in the car. Just stay on this side, Rissy, of the white thing, and then they...
I'm just leaving it here to hey, it's for Access 8, it's noisy. See the spotlight's on, that's bothering me over there. I can't see over there.
How you doing?
Not only to go to a pumpkin party.
I know. I got my shoes, although I'm not collecting one, but I'm here. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
How you doing? Good. Nice to see you.
How are you?
Good.
You doing good?
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Oh, yeah? What's going where? Oh, she's going in with you, Lisa? Hey, Ray. Joe? Right?
What are you going to do for me? Yeah. They're all great.
Whatever's left, I'll give it to her seasons. Where's that called? I saw him. I didn't think he was coming over. I saw him go by.
Not much. I like that guy with the skull and the sickle there. That's a nice. She wants to. I haven't tried it yet.
Good. How are you?
Oh, get it done.
We got the kit home that he, with all the designs.
Point to your pumpkin. Whoops. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Great job.
Want to point to yours?
You have a pumpkin? Yeah. Which one? That's a great one, too. Another one? Oh, they just brought another one? I don't even know what kind of picture we're going to get so dark. It might be good.
What do you like this with?
Yeah. Hello there. Hello.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Yeah, good place for men free death, eh?
Sit up here.
Pumpkin out there, dude? You have a pumpkin out there? You gonna win the prize?
If you want to sneak out, I'm going to tell them that we're going to start judging so you can
Good.
get a head start.
Thank you.
Get your spot that you need.
Okay, great.
time before they wait for the school bus. You're not having any work.
Like this, to me, this is cold.
I'm sure we're ready. Yeah. Have to get him over there. He's checking them all out. He's like a little judge.
Let him judge.
Yeah.
We had 6 granddaughters before we finally got, he was our first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're right.
You're right.
You don't want to be on television.
No. I didn't know. I was here before looking at him and oohing and on, and I never heard that one talking. I just heard it now.
Oh, it talks?
It says Happy Halloween.
Halloween's got like a
And
tape in it.
we gotta be close to hear it.
Yeah, I'll have to have George take it over, yeah.
Somebody said to me, did you hear the talking one? I said, no, and I looked at everyone. Everyone
Yeah,
is
that's what I
different.
said.
Yeah.
Everyone is different. Oh, how nice. Really? Some of them are just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Artists, really. Oh, and they're so original.
Yeah.
We're going to have a hard time deciding.
Yeah.
The winner.
I wouldn't, like we said, we wouldn't
I
want to be
wouldn't
the
want to be
judge.
no judge, no.
Not for the kids.
Uh-uh.
No way.
Nice if they could
All kids have prizes. That's right.
I hope they do. At least
Even a small prize,
Right.
something to all of them,
Yeah.
and maybe something bigger to the grand prize winner. I mean, I hope that's what they can do. Because the kids are so excited. Well, I couldn't see it from the house. I could see the light, but... Well, I just came about...
Welcome to our first annual jack-o'-lantern cutting contest. All the pumpkins came out really nice. Most original, funniest, and scariest. And everybody won a prize. Everyone won. So
We're going
good.
to ask him to move over.
We're going to do this again next year.
She wants a videotape.
I'd like to thank the Deer Park Recreation Committee. They did an excellent job. Now I'm going to start to announce the most funniest, most scariest, most original as we go along all the way down to the end.
Chrissy, stand to the side, honey.
We have
Stand
Luke
to the side over
McKenzie,
that way.
Travis, 2-year-old, most original, first place.
Okay. All right, Nanny, I'll hold on.
First place, most funniest, Caitlin Horton. Travis, is that right? Jason Travis? Second place, scariest.
Hey, come over here. She's taking the she doesn't want you to stand there.
That's all right. Let the kids get in there.
Place,
It doesn't.
most scariest,
Just so she can see them.
Andrew Smith. First, second place, most funniest, to Lindsay Moore. Good. That's all right. Second place, most original. Harold Davis. Damn,
No, I'm not going to worry about it. You know, the kids are in there. There's some kids.
Yep. Move back.
George, can you see extra play?
Kate to second. First place, most funniest. second. Second place, most furious. Justin. Justin Nutt. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Take through second, first place, most original. Austin Smith. First place, most furious. Marissa Bohm, is that right? Marissa Bohm. Second place, most funniest. Tori Horton. Yeah.
It's even a nice thing all the kids are walking back and forth, you know.
Second place, funniest.
Yeah, that's cute.
Ashley Horton.
What? Over here.
Get him up.
We have another winner here.
One person, 2 seconds. Where's Tori? Katie's up to you.
Who's that flipping, guys? You're on TV.
Yeah.
Rest back up.
Hey, Kate. Over here. So you? Go to the angle, bud.
Where's get up on the floor?
Very good. Third place, Furious. Mickey Crown. We got first place, original.
Gift certificate, 10
Yeah, yes.
towards
Court.
Country convenience store. Oh, wow. $10 worth of food. You can probably get goodies.
Find it?
All right.
Here she is, okay.
I'm sorry.
Handle out, is it still out? Okay.
I didn't hear the name. Travis, somebody.
I don't know what more I can do, really.
Second place winner,
Andrew.
This is one of the most serious. Okay. Third place. Funniest. Nope. Fuller. Come on. I'll show you when we get in the car. Come on, Ryan.
Yeah.
First place funniest. Miranda Bone.
Mommy might be inside, honey. She got. Oh, here she is. Here's Mom. No, here's Mommy.
Yeah. Mommy, where's my pumpkin? Okay, that's Mom.
Girls, here's your front seat.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice. They're good. Sugar tree candy. That's okay. That's okay.
Richard, come here. Just a minute. I want to tell you something. There's a man over there with a big box of giving his
Everybody's supposed to.
We got another winner here. Molly Tarboy. Tarboy. Good job. Who's your prize? Who's your prize? Right over here, first prize.
Yeah, I know that.
Tasha won first place original, scariest, and funniest.
Here, so I'm passing out.
Best pumpkin out of the whole bunch. Congratulations, Tasha. Travis. Kowski.